Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's Thursday, which means it's Misfits Racing League action time. And Thursdays are now solely reserved for Tier 1 racing action. It's the season opener for the fastest grid on the MRL calendar. And joining me, as always, is Striff. Striff, how are you doing? There's a lot of hype coming into this one.
I'm nervous. Genuinely nervous. Hello, everyone. My name is Striffium, and we have a very, very fast grid lining up today. We have a couple of esports contenders here. We have the Tier 1 drivers from last season. We have a great shuffle of racers on the grid today, and it is Australia. It is the fourth race of the week for the MRL here around Albert Park, and we have APAC coming to you on Sunday as well. But this is the fastest overall grid that we have, and I am very nervous for how that's going to go. We've seen a few intense dramas through Albert Park this week already, and I think Tier 1 will be no exception.
Yeah, well, speaking of Albert Park, there it is on track right now. 3.3 miles, pretty much 16 turns, and some of them are particularly tricky for these drivers to navigate. But like we said, this is the fastest division on the MRL calendar, and well, qualifying times should be very, very low. We've already seen some very astonishing times yesterday in Tier 2, but this should be even faster. There is the calendar overall. Obviously, this being the first week of the new season, it's round 1, it's Australia. Next week, we will have Bahrain, Vietnam, China, the Netherlands, Spain, Monaco, Azerbaijan, Canada, France, Austria, Britain, Hungary, Belgium, Italy, Singapore, Russia, Japan, USA, Mexico, Brazil, and obviously rounding it out in round 22 in Abu Dhabi. But let's have a look to see who is on the Tier 1 grid this season. Over for the Mercedes, it's Lil Blotel and Alex Biddo, two very fast Spaniards over there in the Mercedes crew. Bottas Gang and Domi are in the Ferraris. Valu and Microlander in the two Red Bulls. Fraser and ZZ9, the pairing from Club, come over to join Renault for Tier 1. And we have Falcons and Ace Ritchie in the two McLarens. Then we have Sindaku and Vexit in the two Racing Points. Shenji and Freeware in the Alpha Tauris. Brainstew and Dason in the Alfa Romeos. Tim and Larsen in the two Haas. And Yoda and Brownie come together at Williams. But with that being said, we are almost set to get ready to go racing here for Tier 1. It looks like everyone is already into the lobby, which is lovely to see, and well, we'll get action underway in just a moment. Striff, this is going to be a monumental, not only a race, but qualifying as well. There's a lot of hype and a lot of expectations placed on these drivers by the community as to what we're going to see the fastest qualifying time be this evening.
This, I think we're going to have, well, we've seen the gauntlet get thrown down multiple times through the week. From Tier 3 through Americas, Tier 2 yesterday. Now we're here with Tier 1. And I have to say, we've seen some times jump into the 18s. I think it was an 18.8 we saw out of Jake yesterday in Tier 2. And if it was an 18.8 in Tier 2, I can only assume we're going to be seeing some mid-18s, low 18s here in Tier 1. Now, the clock is ticking down, and we're about to go racing for qualifying. 18 minutes, of course, the qualifying session leading into a 50% distance race, dynamic weather. So they get the roll of that dice, and of course, we'll have to see what the outcome of that roll is, because we might just get some rain.
Yeah, well, rain would really throw a spanner in the works. It would prevent anyone from really cracking that top time. Obviously, Jake, like you said, setting the lap record for MRL yesterday in qualifying. If we saw rain, that would make it pretty much impossible for any of the Tier 1 drivers here this evening to take that away from him. But if it is dry, these lap times are going to be astonishing.
Well, we're just getting that little load in now. It looks like things are dry here for quali, which is going to be a great sigh of relief for a lot of these racers. They're going to have an unimpeded opportunity to qualify as far as the eye can tell. You never know if you're going to get rain later on in quali, which has happened before. But we'll get a weather report in a few moments' time to get a really good idea. And it looks like Jones has come across to say it's going to be a full dry campaign. So it's going to come down to pace and speed here, and the weather's not going to play a role. And that's exactly what I think all of these Tier 1 drivers want, Unicorn.
Yeah, no one really wants to be in that wet weather conditions, especially around Australia. The season opener, it's a really good indication of pace, the first race, and I think a lot of the people watching as well want to just see how these guys stack up against each other in the dry. The dry is, that baseline, the standard sort of weather for most of the races. So I think people just want to see what the timing tower looks like at the end of this qualifying session in the dry.
Yoda in the Williams. Not something we're used to seeing him drive. He's normally in a McLaren, as we saw for for all of Tier 1. Of course, Yoda, the runner-up from the Tier 1 division last season, now driving in that Williams. First out of the pit lane here, he will be the first person to set a lap. Shenjie, the reigning Tier 1 champion, he is also heading out. He is back in that AlphaTauri with his teammate from the previous campaign, Freeware. So we'll see how they go in the AlphaTauris. They are collectively the reigning AlphaTauri Constructors champions.
Yeah, speaking of champions as well, Domi Tier 2 champion from last season, very dominant down there. Obviously now getting the promotion up to Tier 1. We'll have to see how he fares in the Ferrari over the course of this race and of course the whole season. But Yoda lining up, coming out of the final corner in the Williams to start his, and obviously the first flying lap of the session, and a lot of pressure on these lap times. Yoda coming down into turn 1 through turn 2.
There may be an error with game sound on your end. Not too sure, but I can definitely continue with Yoda. Coming out of turn 3 now in the Williams, coming through turn 4, utilizing a little bit of the inside and exit curbing here. Coming through turn 5 on the inside and exit curb once again. Heading down into turn 6. Now through 7, 8. This is a very, very fun section of circuit. Coming through now into turn 9 through 10. Now we enter into the very, very unique section of circuit heading through to the top of the lake, where we are going to see Yoda travel through the high-speed chicane of 11 and 12. Now we come through here. Purple Sector 1, of course, he's the first car on track, but he runs it wide coming out of 12, and that's going to be an invalidated lap for him in the Williams.
Yeah, and Dason just behind him in the Alfa Romeo. He's just found a lot of grass and gravel, so Freeware's invalidated as well. The Red Bull of Value, he's on an outlap, so maybe Shenjie, he's invalidated as well. Striff, people are really just trying to force the limits here. Fraser, I think, will be the first to set a lap time, just parting 2 cars there to try and get through the traffic. He is going to round out his lap, and then fingers crossed we could turn the game sound up.
You may have game sound bug. You may have a game sound bug or something like this, but they are asking to just turn it up a little bit, and it's always great that we get these things sorted out in qualifying. Of course, 2 times on the board here, 3 times now as Microlander crosses into provisional pole. Brownie says no. A 19.212 out of the Williams. Bottas gang in the Ferrari, a 19.194 for his banker, and the times just keep coming in quicker and quicker here.
There we go. Looks like we've got game sound fixed. Thank you everyone for pitching in there, but apologies on that on my end. But Larson now in the Haas, coming around the final corner. And where is this lap going to put him? It's a 119 flat. That puts him pole for the time being, but, well, we all know where this qualifying session is going to end up, and it's in the 18th Strift. Just how low can this grid go?
It's like a limbo line.
Yeah, indeed.
It's like the limbo line. They're all just, taking turns, seeing who can go as lowest as they possibly can here. And you look at Ace right now in the McLaren, definitely a favorite to have a top slot in the standings this season. He's coming down through Sector 2. What's he going to be able to do in the cockpit of this car? We saw Neon yesterday, his teammate in Tier 2, with a very good lap time, starting himself on the front row. Will Ace have the same pace in hand coming through the 11-12 chicane now? DRS wide open on the rear for the McLaren, heading down into turn 13. He has some traffic. That's Brain Stew on the inside, pulled off neatly. Come through 13 now, dropping down to 4th gear, up through into 6th, dropping back down to 5th, up into 6th once again through turn 15 now. What's he going to do? A little bit of a lock up there. He's going to continue on with this banker. He has a big drift coming through 16, up through 7, now into the top gear. That is 8, and that's pole position for Richie. A 19.080, just 0.13 ahead of Lars and 100th between them, and that is a very neat time out of the McLaren.
Yeah, even with that sort of what looked like a mistake through the final corner, but again, we're expecting these times to be a lot quicker than this come the end of the session, so we'll just have to see where in fact we do end up. Well, it looks like Shenjie will be the next. You just saw Valu invalidate through the final sector in the Red Bull, so these drivers really pushing these track limits, and it's sort of coming back to haunt them just a little bit. They need to get a fast lap in, obviously, but it needs to be fast and valid simultaneously.
Taking a look at who hasn't set a lap. Valu, Vexit, Ace, and Freeware Shenjie. Freeware is on a flyer right now. Just coming out of turn 2. He's getting a little bit of a tow from Brownie here in the Williams. Shenjie is actually just ahead of him on a flyer.
Yeah, the two AlphaTauris both invalidating their first attempts. Obviously, plenty of time left in the session, and Shenjie, according to the chat map, has just set the fastest Sector 1 of the session. So, could he be the first one to go beneath that 119 line instead of 118? Many predictions were made earlier in the Discord, but put your predictions in the chat. What is the pole time going to be this evening? The world record's a 117.9. I saw that being thrown around somewhere. If we saw that, that would be absolutely astonishing.
Unicorn, I'm just going to ask you to work with the chat real quick. Get the audio sorted for the Tier 1 race. They're telling us that there's a big difference in mic volume here. Shenjie now, he's coming through 14 into 15. What is the reigning Tier 1 champion going to be able to do here? He comes through turn 16. This is his banker lap. Shenjie held the record until Tier 3. Will he be able to further push that record? Yes, he will. It's an 18.870 for himself. But that is not yet the track record. He still has more to do, but he gets himself into pole position. Freeware, his teammate, a 19.231 out of the other AlphaTauri. Yoda now on a flyer. He's in the Williams. He was the first driver out of the pit lane. He's back at it once again, and we'll see what he's able to do in that Williams as he comes through Sector 2. There's some traffic. It's Larsen. Comes into turn 10. Right-hander utilizing a little bit of that exit curbing, as you do, and you come up through the top of the lake into the high-speed chicane.
Yeah, fastest Sector 2 for the Williams as well. Hopefully the mic levels should be fixed a little bit better now. I haven't changed them since yesterday, but Yoda into the final sector in the Williams. A big slide coming out of him through turn 13, but he's soldiering on. He's still capable. We saw what Ace Richie did with a little slide through the final turn. Is Yoda going to have similar luck as he opens his rear wing coming down the start-finish straight? It's a 118.914, so that puts him P2.
Well, Blottel and Dayson both not going to be improving on their times as Blottel has just come into the pit lane. Dayson now, he's coming through the high-speed chicane on an invalidated run. Tim in the Haas, he's flying. He's currently 16th, looking to improve on a 19.565. The big question is, will he be able to do it?
Bottas gang in the Ferrari coming around the final corner. You can see the traffic in the final sector really building up, but a lot of these drivers are on flyers right now. Bottas gang a 118.847 puts him in provisional pole for the time being.
Let's just look right now at who we can follow along with for a very nice clean lap.
Both racing points.
Do here. Oh no! Tim, a big slide out of 16. Big slide. That's going to cost him massively, and he's not going to improve, and he's got some damage as well, I think, to carry himself back to that pit lane. That front right wing.
Well, Vexit just ahead of his teammate, and ahead of him what I believe is Ace Ritchie pulling off on his outlap for getting ready for his next run. The other McLaren, Dougie Falcon, just ahead. Both the McLaren and the Racing Point right now outside the top 10. As they come down towards turn 13 in the final sector. And 118.7 is the time to beat at the moment, but we haven't even got into that last 5 minutes when that track is at its most optimum. Microlander. Well, I don't know, that was new. Yeah, that was already there, but...
Microlander, that 18.7, Bottas gang, the 18.47. This is just getting really tight at the front of things, and you look at the gap to leader right now from first all the way down to 16th. It's less than 9/10. And 4 drivers have yet to set laps. 4 very fast drivers have yet to set laps, and I think that we're going to have at least a 1 second separation here, or less than that. Valu now, as I said, one of those fast drivers yet to set a time. Valu comes through. It's an 18.644, a very rapid time out of both Red Bulls today, and they are looking very strong here. 6 minutes remaining in qualification.
Yeah, Ace Ritchie, he's found a 10th and a bit through the first sector alone. Currently sitting on a 19 flat. If the other 2 sectors go his way, this could be a very, very impressive lap time as he comes through turns 9 and 10. And that one is a very curved straightaway, obviously flat out into 11 now through 12. Very tricky portion of circuit, but doesn't bother the McLaren at all. DRS wide open down into turn 13. A little bit wide though on exit, and that's an invalidation for the McLaren. And he's got time for another run, but that's still going to be disappointing for him nonetheless.
Ace, a massive bash into the wall on the 16th turn there. Falcons on the way in.
Blotel as well. He's flying, but, well, he was up until that moment where he's just invalidated in the Mercedes. Still yet to set a valid lap time in this session, and that is not what you want to be doing with just 5 laps remaining. He really needs to pull one out of the bag at the tail end of this session, and, well, does he try and be brave, still push the car to its absolute limits and the track as well, but with that risk comes the possibility of another invalidation, and starting right at the back, Shenjie hops into P2 with a 118.713, the exact same time as Microlander, but still the AlphaTauri splits the 2 Red Bulls for that front row position.
Yeah, that's an 18.713 from both Shenjie and Microlander. And, well, that's quite interesting to see. It's not every day you see that. We've seen it before, but I don't think Shenjie is going to be happy about that. I think he wanted to go a little bit quicker, but he'll be happy he split the Red Bulls regardless.
Brownie, he's on a flyer as well. He's found a little bit of time through Sector 1, nothing too huge to write home about, and it won't be enough to see him really jump up the order, but obviously there's still 2 sectors to go. Coming down towards 11 and 12, and we've already broken the track record, Striff, but it's still just a case of how much can we do it by, as Brownie kicks up a lot of dirt on the outside of turn 12, and he has dropped his lap here as a result. Freeway just ahead of him, finishing out an outlap. Will right on board with him as he flies around for what will probably be his last attempt here this evening in the AlphaTauri.
Freeware not strong around Australia, given his history with you and I for the Tier 1 and the Club Division races he had around here last season. We'll see what he's able to do. Shenjie, however, his teammate, he was always quite strong here, Shenjie. Currently, the separation between the 2 of them is 5/10.
I really feel that Australia is a love it or hate it track. There are just some drivers who seem to really be able to get to grips with it and nail just about every corner, despite the fact that some of them are really very tricky to accelerate out of. As Freeway is actually slower through Sector 1 than his previous best time, and he's already out of that top 10, but he's going to keep going here. His lap is still valid, and I imagine he's got time to find through these last couple of sectors as well. But like you said, some drivers as well just super struggling with this track already throughout this week, and there is an improvement through sector 2. Coming down into turn 13. Freeware. He's already found 1/10. It'd be good enough to beat Brownie. Can it put him into that top 10? Although free tyre choice might be appealing to the AlphaTauri if he can't find too much pace, but it is going to be valid all the way to the line for the German, and he beats not only Brownie but Dougie Larsen and Ace Ritchie as well. So P8 for Freeware.
Fraser right now, your teammate this season in the combined constructors, he's flying, coming through sector 1 into sector 2.
Yeah, obviously Fraser and I being teammates, he as well is not confident coming into this race. He's put a lot more of the hopes of the team onto ZZ9's shoulders, and it seems that his trust is well placed. ZZ9 currently sitting in 6th place, both on flyers, as well as Mike Rolander, Bottas gang, and everyone else in that top 10 on outlaps now. But Fraser rounding turn 13 into the final sector. Into the penultimate corner. Tim becomes the first retirement. It's in the pit lane now, so no drama to write home about. He will not be starting any higher than 16th. Fraser comes down. It's a 119 flat, 2/10 improvement. Chucks him just ahead of Freeware on the tower.
Boitel on an invalidated run, as is Vexit. Bitto on an invalidated run. Domi in the Ferrari coming through turn 14. He is on the move. Traffic ahead of him. That's Dason through 15. Now as we come through 16, what's it going to be for the Scuderia? Bottas gang already in 4th. Domi's looking to get up there with him. Charging down the straight, what it's 8th position for him, and 18.932, and that'll be it for him in this session as he drops off to let anyone moving by through, and that's going to be Dason coming through turn 1 to begin his run.
ZZ9
right behind him.
Yeah, just jumps straight up into 4th with a 118.7. Yoda's out on a flyer as well. Doesn't look like he's found too much time so far on this lap, but if he's got time to find through sector 3, it's not a monumental loss on his previous best, so he could still see himself up in that top 5. Very wide out of turn 14, but it's still valid for the Williams.
Yeah, he had a major lift there to, I think, avoid any kind of issue. So he's on his way into the pit lane now. Brain Stew coming around 16 in the Alfa Romeo. Currently P6, improving on an 18.879. Will he? Yes, he will, to the front row. It's almost a 3/10 improvement. And 18.583 Brain Stew coming into the front row to throw a monkey wrench in the equation for the AlphaTauri. Shenjay now. Will he be able to take that position back, or best, Mr. Valu coming down the straight. Shenjay to the line. He does beat Brain Stew. It's a 5.59 compared to Brain Stew's 5.83. And Shenjay's back into the front row. ZZ9 will not be improving.
Alex Bitto as well. He's sort of stationary off the track. It's not been a good qualifying for the two Mercedes. 18th and 20th for the Silver Arrows, and well, I can't imagine they're happy with that at all. Alex Bitto 119.3, Little Blotel not finding a valid lap time throughout the entire session, but I do think that just about wraps up qualifying. And well, Striff, that was a very, very rapid time, a 118.4 to get pole, but also it's very, very close throughout this grid.
Well, the gap to leader from first down to 18th position is 0.859. Two drivers yet to set times in this session, or well, not able to set times in this session, and it's going to be Valu and Shenjay on the front row of this grid, leading into a 50% distance race. It's going to be 29 laps around here. Once again, Valu, Shenjay, Brainstew, your top three. Red Bull, AlphaTauri, and Alfa Romeo with Mike Rolander in 4th. ZZ9 rounding out the top 5. Bottas Gang 6th. Yoda 7th. Domi in 8th. Larsen in 9th. And Fraser rounding out the top 10 for the first Tier 1 qualifying of the season. Freeware, Ace, Dougie Falcons, Dason, Brownie, Sindako, Tim, Bido, Vexit, and Blotel. In that order, make out the rest of this grid.
Well, Red Bulls 1 and 5 yesterday on the grid. This time it's 1 and 4, but well, it didn't go well for the Red Bull that started on pole yesterday. But we'll be hoping, at least the Red Bulls will be, for a little bit more of a successful race for their pole sitter, and well, it looks like it's going to be a good haul of points for them, judging by the qualifying grid. But 29 laps around Australia, anything can happen as everyone just finalises those race setups to try and give themselves the best opportunity to get those all-important points.
Yeah, for sure. 30 seconds counting down as all of these drivers now finalizing those setups, shaking those nerves out, getting themselves dialed in. We have a formation lap, of course, and I'd like to take this lovely time to, of course, talk about our partner, Next Level Racing. If you happen to be in the market for a sim racing rig, a wheel stand, anything of the like, check them out today. They have got exactly what you need from beginner to pro level and some great affordability. So Next Level Racing, guys, check them out. Appreciate it very much. Now, as we go into Tier 1 action, it's round 1. It is Albert Park. We want to have those predictions. Who's winning this race? Who's coming into that podium? And of course, how many safety cars are we going to have in this one?
Yeah, we're just looking at the tyres initially. The top 10 obviously all starting on softs, then outside of it, it's a lot of mediums. But Dougie Falcon and Tim both starting on the softs and Brownie on the hards. The hards starting on them, it's a bit of a gamble. Those aforementioned safety cars, Striff, if one of those comes out early on, it can really throw a spanner in the works for those starting on the hard compound tyres. But if we don't see a safety car early, Brownie could be on for a really nice bit of strategy, and the undercut as well around here. Super, super powerful for these drivers.
Look at how split this grid is. You look at all these drivers and where they stood last season in their various divisions. We got a few new names on this grid as well this season. But you've got that top 10 all on the softs. You've got Dougie Falcons in the back 10. He's on softs with Tim. Brownie, the only driver that has opted to choose hards, in this campaign. Everybody else in that back 10 on those mediums, and it's curious to see how this race unfolds with strategy, as the predicted pit stop strategy, according to the Shenjie onboard, is a soft hard or a soft medium. But we've seen it quite a few different strategy options, most especially because of the fact that we've had 3 races, each containing a safety car.
Yeah, without a safety car, I wouldn't expect to see a soft medium, but one stops here are pretty popular. But again, it's so easy to draw out a safety car here with how tight the walls are to the track that it usually, the strategy gets a little bit altered by that, as Blotel just takes his position on the grid so that we can get underway here.
This is what we've all been waiting for all week now. 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights here in Melbourne. It is Albert Park. It is the Australian Grand Prix, and we are off the line. We are away racing for Tier 1. Off the line, ZZ9 has a good look already down at Microlander. As we come down into Turn 1, it's a decent getaway for all of these racers. How's things through Turn 2? Any major collisions, any major contact? It doesn't look like anyone's gone off, but we've already had an exchange of position as it's Domi on an absolute charge. Him and Bottas gang moving through this field. They are locked together and they're holding up ZZ9 right now. ZZ9 on the inside as we come through turns 4 and 5. Where's ZZ9? Does he hold? Yes, he is still on the move, on the rear of that Ferrari. No contact between them, and that is what you love to see. So far, things are clean on my end. Unicorn, how are things with you?
Yeah, a lot of side-by-side action through Sector 1, but everyone has managed to keep it clean, and well, the front 3 has sort of run away just a little bit, and Valu still very much holding on to that lead as they come down through 11 and 12. Shenjie as well, sticking with him like glue. Then behind, like you said, the 2 Ferraris have had an astonishing start here. Both have just weaved their way through traffic. Bottas gang up 1, Domi up 2, both past ZZ9, who's had a pretty poor start. Dougie as well in the McLaren, up 4 places. Very, very strong start from him as Dayson and Brownie, they're going side by side through the final sector. And now it's Biddo looking up the inside through the penultimate corner, and he finds a way past the Alfa Romeo as well. Dayson now down 2 places, not looking too strong as we've got a battle going on for 8th as well. Yoda looking up the inside of Dougie Falcon, but not finding a way through. The Williams still in 9th place, 2 places down from where he started this race. He hasn't had the best of starts to the new season either.
Blotel having an issue right now. He's dropping to both racing points here as Sindako on the inside of turn 3, actually causing his teammate a problem. He actually held up Vexit there. Vexit with a bit of a shaky entry through 4 here, trying to hold on with Blotel. Things are tight all through this grid. If anybody makes a mistake, they will drop like a stone. There is not a single gap through this grid with the exception of Brownie and Sindako over 1 second right now. Brownie on the hard compound tires. He's going to have a little bit of loss of pace, but he will make it up soon as the tires ahead of him continue to degrade. Dougie Falcon's on the hunt for ZZ9 right now, coming through the 11-12 chicane. Yoda in his rearview mirror with Larson cooking those tires right behind him, literally into the wall. Larson is out of this race. He is out of this race, Unicorn, and he had a massive loss of traction through the chicane, and I would be shocked not to see a VSC deployed as a result of that, as he is the last car in this grid now. But it doesn't look like we're going to get anything. Bad luck to Haas and bad luck to Larson. That is 1 down with 26 laps to go.
Yeah, Ace Ritchie just got a little bit wobbly out of the final corner as well. But again, it's super surprising that that hasn't spawned at least a VSC, if not a full course caution. And, well, the car's been removed now, so we won't be seeing one be deployed. But very, very interesting now. Everyone's sort of calming down a little bit. The race is sort of settling down. Everyone's spread out to where their sort of respective pace lets them in terms of the race. Brainstew still trying to keep up with Shenjay, and well, DRS is around now as well, and Microlander isn't too far behind the podium positions right now, as Brainstew struggles to find traction out of turn 10. That could leave him a little bit vulnerable to that Red Bull come this DRS zone. He's going to have DRS on Shenjay to help defend against Microlander. And it looks like that will be enough to keep the Red Bull at bay for now. Alex Biddo picks up the first 3-second time penalty of the session, and indeed the first penalty of anyone.
Very tight to the rear of Brownie right now is Alex Biddo, former teammates through Tier 1 last season. Now we look at Dayson hunting them down in the gaps through this grid. If you blink, you just might miss it when these moves come from the drivers, because everybody is locked together. DRS and full utilization, and the train is in full force as Alex Biddo now has had some kind of desync or connection error that has dropped him out of this session. Hate to see it. Hopefully he will have his backup invite to get him back into things here. Now, Microlander with Bottas Gang and Domi, the Ferrari's 5-6 on his rear, splitting up that Renault from where he began this race. That was ZZ9 that began this race in 5th.
Alex Biddo's car is creating a little bit of a problem, and the Haas of Tim has taken both him and Dayson, as they go side by side, but it's Tim who's come out ahead, and now the Racing Points are trying to find their way past that Mercedes as well. But Alex Biddo now back in control of that car just as he gets overtaken by everyone but his teammate. And now it's going to be Blotel up the inside of Alex, and he's going to find the move as well.
Yeah, Alex not in control of his car just yet there, otherwise I wouldn't have my spectator controls. But one thing to talk about is that nobody in this top 10 is safe. Nobody is separated. There has been few position changes in the top 10 as the timing tower now gets reset once Alex Biddo took control of his car. But Bottas Gang and Domi, Bottas Gang up 1, Domi up 2, ZZ9 dropped down 2 from 5th. Dougie's having a good drive so far. He's made up 5 positions from where he began, while Yoda has dropped back to Fraser, sticking it in 10th where he began.
Here goes Ace Ritchie, and he's just dispatched of freeway as easy as you like. That lack of DRS there, you can see the top 10 train, everyone has DRS, although Fraser might have just dropped out of DRS range on Yoda. But Ace Ritchie having that DRS on freeway, and freeway not having the DRS to defend has just left him super vulnerable to the McLaren, who is now just tearing away.
Well, I have to say, Ace shouldn't tear away too quickly. He almost took the good old skate rail through turn 4 and 5, as we call that, inside curbing. Had he taken a little bit more of that, we might be seeing that full safety car that we missed when Larsen left the session. Now, we take a look at who's behind him. Should that mistake come through, Brownie would probably be the best person to inherit on those hards.
Yeah, the race start, well, the initial race start is over, but this train, like you say, it really hasn't broken up yet. And until it does, well, everyone's still in contention for pretty much as many points as they desire and can grab a hold of. Because right now, Striff, this DRS train doesn't look like it's going anywhere. Bottas gang and Domi, the two Ferraris, they look like they could break it up. They're both 8 tenths away from their respective cars ahead, but the front three still locked in pretty tight battling, as Alex Bido again having even more connection issues. You hate to see it, but fingers crossed he can get himself back in here. Shenjay
on board right now with Brains 2 as he follows Shenjay. And something that we have to take a think about is the ERS, the tire degradation. Things are so tight on this grid. We saw it through qualifying. This train is in full force. And it's going to come down to tire wear. It's going to come down to consistency through the turns, making sure you don't take warnings, making sure you don't take penalties. And it's going to really come down to strategy in this one, not just raw pace, because everybody's fast. But it's about using that speed at the best opportunities. And right now, everybody's just minding the gaps, making sure they stick well with the cars ahead. They don't want to fall out of DRS, because as soon as a driver falls out of DRS, that's when they get into the major risk zone.
Yeah, and that tyre wear is going to benefit all those guys who started outside the top 10 on either the mediums or the hards. It's not going to work out quite so well for Tim, who's going to have to pit early, just like the rest of them. But you can see Ace Ritchie down there in 11th right now on the mediums. He's had excellent pace. He's pulled up 2 seconds to freeware and is within DRS range of Fraser as well. I wouldn't be surprised to start seeing him climb before these soft runners have to hop into the pit lane to get off of their worn rubber. But Shenjay still just locked to the gearbox of Valu, but not finding a way past, almost skating across that curb. But just about manages to hold it.
Shenjay, Brains 2, Microlander, Bottas gang, and that's the train for the lead of this race all the way back to 5th. And now Domi 1.8 off the rear of Bottas gang presents himself a unique situation as rear gunner for Bottas gang. He'll have the ability to potentially hold up the drivers behind him, as I do believe Alex Bido has now retaken control of his vehicle once again.
Yeah, being rear gunner around here can be particularly powerful because, well, it's a difficult track to overtake on. Obviously, DRS really plays a role in when the DRS train gets broken like it does. Bottas gang, you know, in 5th, is not quite within DRS range of Michael, I don't think, as Fraser and Ace Ritchie. There you go. Ace Ritchie started his charge on the soft runners. He's now got the pace. As a yellow flag goes up, it looks like Sindarko might have had an issue. The Racing Point now down into 18th place after an issue through turn 13. No damage visibly on the Racing Point though.
Ace Ritchie right now within DRS range of Yoda now with those medium compound tires, and this is the lap where we're really going to see those mediums come into serious action compared to the softs. The softs now starting to degrade. The big question is, who is going to be the first out of the top 8 to pull the plug and jump into that pit lane, because everyone will need to react to that. I'm assuming most will try to react to that.
Well, the undercut around here is nothing to be joked about. It's super powerful. So if you saw Valu hop into the pits as Shenjay, you'd want to just follow him in, because you really don't want to be the one who gets undercut. If anything, Shenjay sort of holds the cards here because he could pit just before the Red Bull. If he can make it look as subtle as possible, that would be perfect for him. But it's Ace Ritchie chasing down Yoda into turn 13. Not gonna find the Williams here, but he's so close behind, and Well, are the leaders gonna go into the pits? It doesn't look like they are yet. Are they gonna push for the soft mediums? Well, Bottas gang.
Dougie's doing it. Bottas gang's doing it. So the Ferrari and the McLaren are both in. That brings Yoda and Ace into 7th and 8th respectively, with Fraser and Freeware now into the points as well. Bottas gang in that Ferrari, he has opted for the hard compound tire. Dougie Falcons behind him has opted for the mediums, as the pit window has now signaled to come open. This is a major undercut attempt from Bottas gang, and a very, very safe tire strategy from him as well, should there be that safety car that we have not yet seen. Dougie on those mediums, also a very good option here. We're seeing some unique strategies come through. Dougie now, he's gone soft medium, Bottas soft hard. We'll see how it plays out for them once the rest of the field comes through and where they'll land once that starts coming down. Now, Valu, Shenjay, Brainstew. The big question is, will all three of these drivers, will they pit at the same time? Or will we see a little bit of strategy differential coming out of them?
I think it really depends, Striff. If anyone wants to try and push the boat out and go for a soft medium, it's possible here in Australia, but it's a very risky strategy.
Richie coming through the 11-12 chicane, absolutely sitting that front wing on Yoda's gearbox. Big thing is, though, he wasn't able to get the exit he needed to dispatch Yoda into the 13th turn. Yoda defending very well right now. A little bit of a tap from Richie. That might have been a little bit of a bump and go here. Yoda trying to defend him through 16, doing a good job. DRS now in utilization for both drivers. Yoda holding that outside line. It's an absolute drag race. Ace right now, he's on the back foot. Yoda leading into the turn. A big lunge coming out of Richie there. Yoda keeping it clean. What a defense out of the Albanian. Both of them with a little bit of a shake coming out of turn 2. Ace getting things back under control. Looking to the inside once again through turn 3. Does he get this on the Williams? Giving Yoda the squeeze on the exit. Yoda not able to defend back against with his softs right now. What a race and what a exchange between the McLaren and the Williams.
Yeah, so close together, but the proximity didn't scare either of them, both putting up a very valiant effort. Fraser picks up a 3-second time penalty. He's currently in P7. Also worth pointing out, Valu pitted out of the lead. He is onto some fresh mediums, as is Domi in the Ferrari. So Ferrari covering all bases with the soft hards and maybe a soft medium as well for Domi. But Valu straight onto the medium tyres. I wouldn't be surprised to see Shenjay, Brainstrew and Microlander follow suit. Obviously, if any of them have a race engineer, that's going to get a big advantage because they're going to know that Valu is onto those mediums. He's down in 12th place right now, and that's a pretty good place to come out. You can see the Bottas gang is in 14th and Domi down in 16th, so the pit window so far has worked out well for Valu. Here come the leaders. Ace Ritchie will take the lead for now. Obviously yet to pit off of the medium combat tyres, and Yoda stays out as well, Striff. The Williams, despite losing out to Ace Ritchie's mediums, is sticking to the soft for now, as is Fraser. I think they're both going to push for a safer soft medium.
Well, let me take you through a little bit of insight on Yoda's end here, and potentially Fraser as well. Maybe even the drivers behind them on those mediums. You got to think, all of those fast runners, they're coming out into traffic now. Whether it's traffic with one another or it's back marker traffic on the older tires, that creates potential for safety cars. Risks start being taken because everyone wants to get away from one another, and that is when, of course, bad things happen, and we could see a safety car. Yoda could be, with Fraser, trying to stretch these tires for a couple of extra laps just as an insurance policy, because if a safety car was to come out right now, they get a free pit stop out of the deal. Sindako now, he's dropped off as Microlander and Dougie Falcons fight. Coming through Sector 2.
Yeah, Domi as well, passing the racing point. It didn't allow the racing point. Made that too difficult for the Ferrari. The Ferrari obviously on fresh tyres, so not a lot that Sindaku can really do. But he's had a challenging race so far. A safety car would certainly see his hopes improve as Valu takes Lil Blotel down into turn 13. Already into P7 on those fresh mediums. Everyone ahead is yet to pit. Now come the last two of the soft runners.
Falcons, I'm sorry to take your attention away. They're wheel to wheel coming through 13 right now. Dougie keeping things ahead through 14, now through 15. Domi looking at the rear of the McLaren as we come through the 16th and the final turn of the lap. DRS and utilization for Domi. Dougie doesn't have that rear wing open. The charge coming out of that scarlet red Ferrari into turn 1 around the outside, a little bit early on the brakes compared to Dougie here, but Dougie has a big problem named Domi. DRS once again on that rear wing around the outside, just ahead of the Microlander, and Bottas Gang having an exchange as Microlander is fighting with Bottas Gang and has taken that position for 9th. Will Bottas Gang have an answer?
Well, Bottas Gang...
Domi, but they took one and lost one there, Unicorn.
Yeah, they need to be careful because obviously Domi making the position, but Dougie Falcon, he's got to be careful that he doesn't get overtaken by the cars behind him. These battles, they can give you a lot of game, but they can also lose you positions as well. But I don't think Dougie Falcon's got too much to worry about from Sundaku on those old hot mediums. It's more ZZ9 on the fresher mediums that he's got to worry about being close to him towards the end of this race. Shenjie now has caught up to a little Blotel on the 11 lap old mediums. Shenjie obviously on the fresher mediums. They're coming through the penultimate turn, and Shenjie's going to have DRS. The Mercedes ahead of him will not, and this could be a very, very easy overtake for the AlphaTauri as they stream down towards turn 1. Shenjie goes to the inside line later on the brakes, and well, there's not a lot that the Mercedes can do there. The tyre differential really is showing itself now.
Shenjie took a big risk there, taking a little bit too much circuit. The stewards rewarded him with a nice 3-second time penalty as a result, and that is going to hurt him. That is definitely going to hurt him, as right now he needs to catch up 2.3 seconds to Value and an additional 3 seconds. Value, no penalties right now.
Yeah, Value having no penalties is something that he's going to want to continue into the end of this race, because that's going to make it very difficult for the likes of, well, now Shenjie, but if Microlander picks up a penalty, Bottas Gang as well, as Brainstew looks up the inside of Lil Blotel. Lil Blotel now, you can see even the older mediums now are struggling, obviously, against the fresher compounds of tyres that are coming out of this pit lane, and he drops down to 8th place. Obviously, Ace, Richie, Freeway, and Dason up at the top in the front 4 are on those mediums, and Brownie, he's in 3rd on those old hard striff. I want to see how long he takes them, and whether he just hops onto the softs at the end of this race. It won't be too long until that's possible for him, if he's got a fresh set available to him.
Motel. Oh, it's been a very interesting race for the Mercedes squad. Bitto having those connection issues. Looking at Dason right now with Brownie, sticking well with Brownie. Brownie into 3rd on these hards, and this is something we haven't talked too much about. Brownie on these hard compound tires. He was the only driver to start the race on the hard compound tires. He's into 3rd. He does have a penalty. He does have 3 seconds. Dason behind him has 9 seconds, however. And the big question is, where the heck is Brownie going to land himself when he does end up coming into the pit lane here? He's in 3rd. He can take those hards for quite a distance, and should he get a safety car, he would be in absolute prime position.
And the problem is right now that Brownie has, if there isn't a safety car, that even though he'll be on those softs, and we're already seeing right now what a tyre advantage can do, it is a tricky circuit to overtake around. And in that late stage of the race as well, everyone's going to be just on their best defense game. They don't want to be losing positions at that stage of the race. So Brownie, he needs to be careful that he doesn't get stuck behind too many cars here when he does go for those softs, because I don't see him going for mediums at this stage of the race. But the Williams, he's got a lot of options open to him.
Domi just taking a 3-second time penalty. That's not what he wants to be doing in that Ferrari. Especially with Dougie Falcon's breathing down his neck. ZZ9 is in that equation just the same. And Bottas Gang doing a good job on the hards right now.
Yeah, Bottas Gang as well. He's someone who we could really see spring into action in that late stage of the race. Obviously, he's gone for the safer option of tyres. The hards will quite comfortably make it to the end as Freeware picks up a time penalty. He's currently running in P2. But Bottas Gang, he will have the pace towards the end of this race, provided there isn't a safety car and everyone is forced to stay out on these compounds of tyres that they're all intending to take to the end of the race, just other than those in that top 4 who have yet to pit, and Sindaku as well.
So let's take a look at the position changes throughout the campaign. Ace, Freeware, Brownie, and Dason all yet to pit are the biggest winners here so far. 11 positions for Ace, 9 for Freeware, 12 for Brownie, and 10 for Dason. Now, if we look at the drivers who have pit, realistically, all the front runners are down positions because of the guys leading things. Yoda right now with Sindako, 313. Sindako, a bit of a lockup there defending against the Williams. I'm on with Fraser right now. Front row seat and the popcorn, that front wing just sticking on the Italian's rear. This is a very intense battle, although not in the points just yet. They could very well be. And there goes Fraser with a big slide. Oh, very neatly done to get that caught, but we've seen that go either way. He went the right way with it in the end, which is that very crucial moment for anyone from Renault, like yourself watching, Unicorn.
Yeah, Domi's under pressure as well, but Fraser, a very heart-in-mouth moment there as, you know, you're inches away from just slamming into the pit wall. We've seen that wall take so many cars, even just this season, let alone last season as well, so it's a very easy place to get a retirement at any stage of the race if you're just a little bit too eager on that throttle out of that final quarter. But like you said, Fraser doing well to hold it, and now he finds the position as Sindaku has a huge lockup into turn 9.
Oh, Brownie trying to defend off of Dason right now. Could have been a late move out of the Williams, but he is holding on to that third position for dear life right now. Dason trying to do what he can with DRS into that 13th turn to get the move done. Here we go again. Brownie not quite close enough to Freeware to do anything, but Dason is just sitting on Brownie. Meanwhile, Value now has caught up to them. And this is very, very, very important now because Shenjay has that 3-second time penalty. He's not too close to Value, but Dason and the drivers ahead of him might present a challenge for Value. They might just back him into the AlphaTauri.
Yeah, it's going to be particularly difficult for anyone as ZZ9 looks for a huge lunge. A bit of a late move up the inside of the McLaren of Dougie Falcon. Doesn't find it, but that's cost them both a whole heap of time to Domi in the Ferrari ahead. But Domi does have that penalty to contest with. But still, ZZ9 flicked out late to the inside. Didn't cause an incident between the pair of them, but well, they both had to be careful how they navigated the situation from there on out, and it just cost them an unnecessary amount of time to Domi ahead. So a bit unfortunate for the Renault as there's a huge train for the high up point scoring positions right now. Dason looking up the inside of Brownie, not finding it again. The Williams has DRS on Freeware ahead of him. Meanwhile, Ace Ritchie up at the front as Dason gets a little bit wobbly. That might allow Value around the outside of turn 15. Not quite, though, for the Red Bull. And he's got Shenjay just sat on his gearbox as well. So if he makes even the slightest of mistakes, Shenjay will be there to pounce. And he might even look for it here. Up the inside, down into turn 1. Pulls back in behind the Red Bull. A sensible move. A display of patience from the AvataR. And here goes Value now. Dason in the firing line around the outside, coming into turn 3. A little bit of a lockup for the Red Bull. He pitted early, so he wants to preserve these tyres. Shenjay's going to follow him through, though, up the inside of the Alfa Romeo. And Dason now down into 6th place in the Alfa Romeo. These tyres starting to wear out. It's going to be time for the softs in either this lap or 1 or 2 laps. They've really got to get off of these mediums, Striff.
Definitely, and as long as Brownie, Freeware, and Ace are in Value's way, this presents a very, very bad situation for Value because Shenjay has been knocking on that door. He has been sitting on the rear of that Red Bull. He's looking at him into the 11-12 chicane. Freeware now has taken a 3-second time penalty. Dason and Brainstew have now exchanged as Dason is starting to drop back on those older tires, letting his teammate through without a fight as Domi. Well, what's happened here? Bottas Gang and Domi have exchanged now.
Well, Ace Ritchie comes into the pit, and it's to no surprise. Apparently, his tyres are on 80% wear, so he was risking a puncture there. Freeware follows him in, as well as Dason as well. So now Value and Shenjay are back into fighting for the podium positions. They're just behind Brownie right now. Brownie still out on these hards, and you've got to say, you would have expected him to come in for softs with the rest of them, but here goes Value looking up the inside. Not going to find it. The Williams putting out an excellent defense, and it might allow Shenjay up the inside. It doesn't. Value just about holds off the AlphaTauri for now.
Shenjay right now just sitting on Value's rear, and he really needs to pick and choose his battles because he's not going to have too many shots at this. He really needs to be careful here. Brownie right now putting that car in Valley's way beautifully. And if he continues to do so, Shenjay will be happy. But as soon as Value gets by Brownie, Shenjay needs to wake up, and he can't take any major risks. He needs to keep things tight.
Well,
Value, ladies and gentlemen, has just taken a 3-second time penalty on the rear of Brownie through the 11-12 chicane. That means him and Shenjay are fighting for circuit position. It's not about time anymore. It's about position once again.
It's not just him and Shenjay's drift. Brainstew's joined the pile and it's been putting Shenjay under a mountain of pressure, and Brownie stays out for another lap, and now it is going to be the chance for the Alfa Romeo to shine. Surely both cars have DRS, but Brainstew is so close on the rear of the AlphaTauri, not quite late enough on the brakes to find a move through turn 1, but he might have a look down into turn 3. This is such a tight battle for what will be the podium positions. Shenjay.
What a lunge out of Shenjay there. He really had to drop back on the rear Valo, and this might have exposed him to Brainstew. As they come out of turn 5 right now, things are so tight for these drivers in front of this race, and the longer they fight, the longer things stay this tight, the more the rest of this grid will be able to bring themselves into the equation. And should something go sour here, we haven't seen a VSC, we haven't seen a full safety car, none of that has been introduced into this race yet. If that enters the scenario, well, we're just going to have to assess that when it happens. Right now, Ace Ritchie and Yoda wheel to wheel as we come through turn 10 right now. Yoda ensuring right now that Ritchie has to work for the overtake as they are still wheel to wheel. Ace Ritchie leading ahead of Yoda. Shenjay with Value, nothing doing just yet into 13. Ace on those softs, a great carry of pace out of the 12 exit. He is very far ahead of Yoda already.
Well, Brownie is into the pits, so these front runners now are completely unleashed. Shenjay no longer has that Williams backing up Value, and likewise, all of this battling not only allowed Brainstew to catch up, but Microlander as well, and Microlander's drift is a very interesting addition to this equation, because Value, if he can just defend for his life, his teammate here is on for the win. He's got no penalties right now in that other Red Bull, and is sitting behind 3 cars with 3 seconds of penalties, and they're all within about 1.5 seconds of each other. So Microlander right now is driving a very good race.
Dayson in 13th position. Just want to take a moment to acknowledge it. He has taken the fastest lap of the race just then at 1:21.760, which will remove that point from the top 10. Brownie coming out in 14th position on the freshest rubber on this grid, out of the lead of this race. We'll have to see where he lands himself.
14th place. It's not going to be an easy climb for him, especially when ahead of him he's got 2 cars on reasonably fresh softs of their own. His only hope will be in those closing stages, but there's still a lot of opportunity to be had. 8 laps from the tail end of this race, and well, it's far from over. There's so many trains. It's a little bit less of a train than it was at the start of this race, but DRS still playing an absolutely huge role in what we've seen here this evening. Alex Biddo, he picks up another penalty. The Mercedes race really hasn't been what they would have been hoping for from the season opener.
ZZ9, Dougie, Bottas gang, all in the train behind Domi right now, and the Ferraris running 5 and 6. Bottas gang, he's in a good position should something need to happen. If he can hold up Dougie and maybe extend that gap to Domi a little bit, they could reserve some points. But right now, Domi is holding on to a 3-second time penalty, which would send him potentially into 8th position. Ace Ritchie right now to the end of the race on these softs. He's in 9th, but he's not charging through this field at the rate I think he wanted to.
Yeah, it's a tricky strategy to try and pull off the softs at the end of this race with how close this grid is. It's thrown them so far down the field that the amount of overtakes required to get any decent hauler points is just a monumental challenge. And well, now with the DRS trains as well, that makes it equally as hard to overtake, and well, they've been shoved so far down the grid as a result of that late pit stop that I don't think it's worked out as the session. Something has gone wrong there. Fingers crossed, everything is okay on your end,
Yeah,
but
that was on my end as well. So I'm gonna do what we can to get back into that session, and hopefully we don't have any further issues. Hey guys, thank you very much for watching the race. Unfortunately, we had some technical difficulties in the middle of the race, causing us to lose spectator ability from lap 22 onwards. Here we have the race classifications. You're welcome to pause the video, and we'll have the interviews shortly after these screens. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next week for Bahrain. Joining us is the third position finisher, the Finnish driver, Valu. How are you doing?
I'm good.
How was your race well, you started this race on the front row, pole position. You finished it in third, first race of the season. Let's have your take on it.
Yeah, it was going good until after the pits I got into traffic, and Brown is always just so rapid in the straight, so I couldn't get past. I was going like 1 second off the pace, so J and Brains to catch me when I was like 2.5 ahead, and then my tire was like 75 and I almost spun. So yeah.
How did it feel racing in Tier 1 this time around? You're a returning driver in the grid. Did it feel different?
Not really.
Not
Maybe
really.
more nervous because first race of the season.
First race of the season, but not really as far as the race approach. It was just another race for you and just do what you can.
Yeah.
Right on, right on. Well, thank you very much, Valley. Congratulations on the P3. Do you have anything you want to say to the stream before we jump on with the next podium finisher?
Torille.
All
Thank
right,
you.
then. Take care. All right, next up, we are here with the P2 finisher, Shenjay. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great.
Let us have some insight into your race for Tier 1. This was well, this is your division. You are the reigning champion. How did you feel round 1 this time around?
It felt pretty nice. Quali went fine. My lap wasn't perfect, but I don't think I was gonna get follow unless I did a perfect lap. And yeah, the first stint I just stayed in Val's DRS. Like he was really slow on the straights, so I could keep within him. And then after pitting for the mediums, we got held up by especially Brownie a lot, and that allowed Microlander to catch a lot. And yeah, so I think I drove pretty well. I got Valu, which was my objective in the race, but Microlander showed the benefits of not getting penalties. He literally like never gets penalties. It's kind of insane.
Clean. Now, looking to Bahrain. Bahrain, a race you've had ups and downs in. I think back to season 2 with Remco, and then I think back to season 3. How are you looking leading into season 4, round 2, Bahrain next week?
Well, I don't like that track at all. It doesn't really suit me, and I think I'll be happy to get like maybe at least a top 10 finish will be nice, but I really don't know because I don't know how everyone else is at Bahrain. I feel like I'm like Australia is one of my best tracks in my opinion, and Bahrain's one of my worst. So I'm just hoping to score some points next race.
Well, you scored some today, that's for sure, Shenjay. Congratulations to you and the team on getting the P2 finish. Thank you for taking the time to interview, and hopefully we'll see you in the interviews once again soon. But of course, good luck to you next week in Bahrain.
Thank you.
All right. Last but not least, we are going to take a moment to talk to the race winner, the Red Bull Racing driver. It is Microlander, Unicorn. Why don't you take this one?
Yeah, well, Microlander, that couldn't have gone much better for you. 4th to 1st. Just how does that feel to take the win there in Australia in the opening?
I'm speechless, to be honest. I really wasn't expecting that today. Because I came into the race thinking I was going to hopefully get some points, a point or two. But wow.
Once... Oh, have you got something else?
Oh, no, it's all good.
Once you caught up to Shen Jay and obviously Valor, your teammate as well, they've just mentioned how they were held up by Brownie. Obviously, once you've got that, you knew that you had no penalties. They had penalties ahead of you. Does that put extra pressure on you? You just really aware of the track limits? Because obviously it's a pretty easy track to pick up, 3 over the course of a race. Was that a worry for you?
Most definitely. I was probably the most nervous 20 laps of my life. Because I was on 2 warnings from lap 10, I think. And yeah, I just really had to drive so cautiously, but at the same time I knew I had to keep up with the top guys or my chance would be gone.
Yeah, and obviously...
I'm really speechless. I just wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, and obviously Valu, your teammate, was just, very, very quick up at the front that entire race. Was there any, tactics when Valu realised that Shenjay was there with penalties, you were there without them? Did he, were you communicating, did he push, hold Shenjay back just as much as he could to give you that best opportunity at that race win when, you guys were released from behind Brownie?
I think it was mostly just flat out, to be honest. I think Valu was still trying to aim for the win, because I actually thought he had no penalties at the time. But because we were so concentrated, because I was aiming for 1-2, but yeah, it was unlucky in the end, really. But I think we're probably leading the overall constructors now for the whole tiers. That is Red Bull.
Well, a 1-3 in Tier 1 is going to help that monumentally. I don't know what it looks like overall, but, it's still a double podium. A very, very good way to start the season. Looking forward to Bahrain. Do you think you could continue this run of form, or is Bahrain, where does it stack up on your best tracks list compared to Australia? You better, worse?
It's probably a lot worse, to be honest. But it's a long season, so it'll be ups and downs. Anything can happen, really. Because I had quite a tricky season for my first season last year. So, yeah, it's really proved to me today that if you keep it clean, keep your head down, that you can achieve anything, really.
I have one last question for you, just from me. It was a question that I didn't ask any of the drivers that we've had on, but how did it feel not having a safety car differential in the race today?
Oh, it was actually really nice. Because it just felt like a normal race. You could just focus and you knew nothing was gonna make your strategy go out the window.
Yeah, for
So
sure. So it's
I
a
was
very
quite
raw
thankful.
drive, just start to
It
finish.
was.
It's strategy based, the way everybody wanted it. So I think that was good. So congrats from me to you and to Red Bull on the 1-3. And well, that's one win out of 22 potential wins for you. And I hope to see you do well in Bahrain next week as well, Microlander. It was a very, very clean drive today from you.
Thank you, guys. I'm looking forward to watching it back.
All right. Thanks a lot, Microlander. That is it for the interviews, guys. We are going to raid in just a few moments' time to, of course, a member of the F1 community. You guys know him. I'm sure you guys will recognize him. We are going to be hitting Mr. Dirk Chocolate this evening, as I do believe he is doing some open lobby shenanigans. Now, with that being said, quick shout out to, of course, Next Level Racing, our new partner. We are going to have some fantastic events and prizes to be giving away within the coming months of Season 4. So we hope you guys are going to hang with us for that. Check them out in the chat. That link should have been posted for you guys there. They've got some great gear available, and we're really looking forward to Season 4 with them. Now, Unicorn, any last words before we well, we've got one more race this week, don't we?
Yeah, 4 out of 5 done. APAC on Sunday. And obviously that's one to look forward to. It's a possibility that we see that lap record get broken again in qualifying. Obviously, we haven't seen rain. That you were saying at the start of the stream. It's still possible that at least one of the divisions get hit with that always dreaded rain. But yeah, that's one to look forward to on Sunday. Then Bahrain next week. And well, it's been a brilliant opening few days to Season 4. It's been just edgiest action from start to finish, and I'm fully hyped, ready for just the rest of the 21 rounds remaining in the season. And yeah, that's pretty much it, I think. So thank you everyone to tuning in and sticking with us through all those technical difficulties. Again, not a lot we could do on our end. It's just the luck of the draw you get with the Codemasters F1 game. But we're going to hit you with the outro and then go and show Dirk Chocolate some love over on his stream. But thank you everyone once again, and we'll catch you in the next one.